Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a very important and interesting period in English literature history, that is the Anglo-Saxon Age. This time period lasted from around 410 AD to 1066 AD, and it played a big role in shaping the English language, culture, and literature. So let's dive right into it and see how it all began, how people lived back then, and what kind of stories and poems they created. So first we will look at the highlights of this lecture. We will start with the introduction of Anglo-Saxon period, the historical background, literary styles and features during this period, and important works like Beowulf, Widsith, Seafarer, etc. Alright, so let's begin. Now, the Anglo-Saxons were not originally from England. They were groups of people from Northern Europe, right? They were groups of people from Northern Europe, especially from places that are now Germany, Denmark, and the Netherlands. So when the Romans left Britain, these tribes started moving there and settling down. According to some historical stories, two brothers, namely Hengist and Horsa, these are the important names that you might want to remember. Hengist and Horsa. They led the first group of Anglo-Saxons into Britain around the year 449 AD. Right? Important points to remember. They were the first group. They were these Hengist and Horsa, the two brothers. They led the first group of Anglo-Saxon settlers to Britain. Now, over time, these settlers started forming kingdoms, and there were seven major kingdoms, collectively known as the Heptarchy. The names of these kingdoms were Kent, Sussex, Essex, East Anglia, Northumbria, Mercia, and Wessex. Right? So these kingdoms didn't always get along. They often fought each other to gain more land, power, and territory. In the beginning, the Anglo Saxons followed a pagan religion. They worship. Now, what is pagan religion? That means worshipping nature and worshipping gods that are related to nature, like Woden and Thor. So, Woden is similar to Odin in Norse mythology, and Thor is the god of thunder. You must have come across the character of Thor in various children movies as well, right? So the Anglo Saxons spoke Old English language. The people of that period talked to each other in Old English language, and it sounds very different from modern English, but it is actually the base of the English we speak today. So many simpler words like mother, father, water, and strong, they all come from Old English. And life during that time or during those days that life wasn't as easy. There were many wars and invasions, right? They had to fight various wars and invasions for survival. There were small villages and no big countries like today. People followed their local kings or chiefs. They lived a very basic life, mostly depending on farming and fighting for survival. So now, while actually talking about and getting to know about this period, there's a fact that just strike my mind that will help you in understanding this age better. Most of you have must have watched a series by the name of Vikings, right? So the kind of lifestyle those Vikings used to lead, the warfare for their survival, how they imposed wars on other kingdoms for their own survival, how they worshipped nature, the kind of daily lifestyle they led, and also they believed in animal sacrifices. So, the kind of lifestyle, that kind of lifestyle was what the Anglo Saxon lifestyle was, right? That will help you in understanding this age better. So, now let's look at some key events that happened during this period. The Anglo-Saxons, led by Hengist and Horsa, the two brothers, they arrived in Britain in 449 AD. Now, these settlers expanded their settlements, and the native Britons, who were already there before the arrival of Anglo-Saxons, they had to move to the west in the late 5th century. In 519 AD, the kingdom of Wessex was formed. The Wessex was formed, right? In 537 AD, King Arthur, who was the leader of native Britons, he died. So, what happened when he died? The native Britons had to further retreat towards Scotland, Cornwall, and Wales. In 597 AD, Saint Augustine arrives in Kent and he introduces Christianity. Important event. Christianity was introduced in 597 AD in Britain by Saint Augustine and he converted King Ethelbert. In 664 AD, Roman Christianity becomes the main religion in Britain, right? In 871 AD, Alfred becomes the king of Wessex and he was the first king to ever defeat the Vikings. Then in 899 AD, King Alfred dies. Now, a very significant event occurs after 899 AD. That is, the Norman conquest happens. It happens in 1066 AD. Now, who were the Normans? Normans were people from France. They were French people. So, William, Duke of Normandy, defeats King Harold II, right? He defeats King Harold II of England. So, this was a very important event, and these events changed the history and culture of England forever. Now, let's talk about Anglo Saxon literature. Most of their stories and poems were not written down at first. All right, they were not written down but passed from person to person through storytelling. And the poets who used to tell these stories were called scopes, right? The stories were passed by word of mouth, and this is called the oral tradition. These poets or the scopes would recite, sing poems in the halls of kings or during gatherings. Now, because people did not read or write much, they used certain techniques to make their stories easy to remember, which included alliteration, repetition, enjambment, digressions, and rhythm. So, what was alliteration? Alliteration is using the same sound at the beginning of words, like mighty men marched. Mighty M, men M, and marched M. The first letter of these three words start with the letter M. So, this is alliteration. Now, what was repetition? Repetition means repeating key phrases, lines, or ideas in order to emphasize them or to make them stand out. All right. What was enjambment? Enjambment was continuing a thought or continuing a sentence, thought, or an idea across multiple lines without a pause. All right. Now, what was digressions? Digressions means to deviate from the topic, to go off from the topic completely, to add background stories or moral lessons. All right. They were small side stories. Then rhythm was a regular beat that helped in memorizing the lines. So these features helped listeners stay engaged and made it easier for poets to remember long passages. Also, one of the most important types of poetry during this time was the epic poetry. Now, what were the themes of these epic poetries written during this time? They were about brave warriors and king. And one of the most famous epic is Beowulf, which tells the story of a hero who fights monsters and protects his people. So, such stories were meant to inspire courage and honor, right? Or also, all poems were not about battles. Some were more emotional and sad as well, and they talked about loneliness, exile, and the hardships of human life. Right? What were the themes? Loneliness, exile, and the hardships of human life. And the examples of such poems and such works were The Wanderer and The Seafarer. Right? These poems show how hard and uncertain life was at that time. As Christianity became more popular, religious ideas also started to appear in literature. So also a key figure was the venerable Bede. He was a monk and a scholar, and he wrote the most famous work, Ecclesiastical History of the English People. It was written exclusively in Latin, and he told the story of how Christianity spread in England. Right? So this book not only provides historical facts but also aimed to inspire faith and encourage people to adopt Christian values. Most of the works of this age lack authorship. There were no authors. So we don't know who wrote Beowulf. We don't know who wrote Widsith, Wanderer, or The Seafarer, we have no idea about the author of these works. The elegies that were written were in the form of dramatic monologues that through which the speaker could express his feelings in order to accept reality. Now we'll look at the important works of this period. So let me tell you about some of the most important poems and writings. All right. The first one and the mightiest is the Beowulf. It is the story of a brave warrior who fights a monster named Grendel and Grendel's mother, and later a dragon. So the poem shows both pagan and Christian values like bravery, loyalty, and faith in God. Let's read it from here. Beowulf was the greatest Old English epic. It was likely composed between 700 and 1000 AD, and it tells the heroic story of a warrior named Beowulf who fights and defeats dangerous monsters, including Grendel and a dragon. What makes this poem unique is that it blends pagan values like bravery and honor with Christian beliefs. This was a previous question. It blends bravery and honor with Christian beliefs, such as faith in God and the idea of divine judgment. It reflects a time when England was shifting from its old pagan religion to Christianity. The next work we have is The Wanderer. It is the story of a man who has literally lost everything and he wanders alone now. He feels sad and lonely and he thinks about how short and hard life is. It is a lyric poem and follows the thoughts of a man who has lost his lord and homeland. He travels alone, reflecting on shortness and uncertainty of life, passing away of time, and the pain of isolation. The poem expresses a strong sense of sadness and longing, which is common in Anglo Saxon poetry, right? The next one is The Seafarer. It is the story of a sailor who travels alone across the sea. Would you travel alone across the sea? That needs some guts now. He faces storms and cold, and the sea becomes a symbol of life's hardship. So, Seafarer, a sailor's sorrow. It's an elegy, which means it's a sorrowful reflection on life. The Seafarer tells the story of a man who travels across the sea, facing storms, cold, and loneliness. Sea is a symbol of the hardships of life, and the poem shows how difficult and uncertain life was. Like the Wanderer, it mixes themes of personal struggle with spiritual hope, ending with Christian reflections on faith and salvation. The next one we have is The Dream of the Rood, right? Now, it's a very interesting one because in this, the cross or rood literally speaks. It literally talks. So, this is a religious poem where the cross speaks and tells the story of Jesus' sacrifice. All right. So, in this poem, the speaker has a dream where the cross on which Jesus Christ was crucified appears to him and speaks. The cross tells the story of Christ's sacrifice, showing both suffering and glory. The poem gives a unique and emotional look at Christian belief by giving a voice to the cross itself. The next one is The Widsith. It is about a traveling poet who visits many kingdoms. This poet visits many kingdoms and it gives us a look into heroic culture and shows how respected poets were at that time, right? And it is also the oldest surviving poems in Old English language. It tells the story of a wandering poet who visits many courts and kingdoms across Europe. The poem lists many famous rulers and tribes, some real and some legendary. It gives us valuable information about early medieval culture, history, and how poets of that period were actually respected. They were given respect as storytellers and historians of their time, right? So now let's move forward towards another important slide of this presentation of this class, that is the manuscripts. Now, you must be wondering if the literature of that period was completely oral, how do we have record of the works that we've just read about right now? These old poems were written down and saved in manuscripts, and manuscripts were the collections of texts. So, here are some of the most important ones. The first one is the Vercelli book. It has religious teachings and visions. It is famous for religious teachings and visions. It is one of the oldest collections of Old English writing, and it also includes an important work, which is The Dream of the Rood. We just read about it, right? So the Vercelli book is one of the oldest collections of Old English writing. It was found in the town of Vercelli in Italy, but its contents were written in Anglo-Saxon England. The texts in this manuscripts are mostly religious in nature. They focus on Christian beliefs, right? They focus on Christian beliefs. The next one we have is the Exeter book. Now, this one had religious and secular poetry. Vercelli had religious teachings and visions. The Exeter had religious and secular poetry. Students, these facts, these minor facts, like which one had religious teachings and visions, which one had the poem The Dream of the Rood in it, and which one is famous for secular poetry, you should know the answer to these questions, because these are minor questions that might fetch you a question in your exams, right? So the Exeter book is the largest surviving collection. It survives till now of Old English poetry, and it was donated to Exeter Cathedral by Bishop Leofric in the 11th century. Some of its well-known poems are The Wanderer, The Seafarer, and about 90 riddles, which some of which are funny and some are thoughtful. The Wanderer is about a lonely exile reflecting on the loss of his lord and sadness of life, and The Seafarer is the story of a sailor facing harsh life at sea while searching for meaning. This manuscript has 90 riddles. Riddles are basically short puzzle-like poems that play with language and imagination, right? Some of these riddles are humorous while some are thoughtful. The next manuscript we have is the Junius manuscript. It contains poems that are based on Bible, right? The Junius manuscript basically has biblical stories in poetry. The language of this manuscript is well crafted, and the poems aim to teach Christian morals. They retell the stories from the Bible. Now, one important poem in this manuscript is Christ and Satan. These poems teach religious lessons, right? And this poem, The Christ and Satan, explores the battle between good and evil. It shows scenes from heaven and hell, including the fall of Satan, the suffering of Christ, and the final struggle between divine forces. The last one is the Novel Codex, or we may call it the Beowulf manuscript, because it contains the epic poem Beowulf. Now, since it has Beowulf in it, the theme of this manuscript is heroic and religious, right? It's quite evident now since we can see Beowulf here. And there is another poem in this manuscript, that is Judith. It's a poem based on biblical story about a woman who is courageous and who saves her people by defeating an enemy general, right? So students, that was all for the lecture of today. I hope you enjoyed it, right? So that was the Anglo-Saxon age, and a time which was a time of brave warriors, powerful poems, deep emotions, and big changes. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed learning about this unique and exciting period. So see you in the next video. Till then, keep learning.